The United States has the largest economy on the planet, $28 trillion every single year. To put that in perspective, if you took every single product made, every service sold, every salary paid, every coffee bought in the entire United States in 1 year, it adds up to $28 trillion. That's more than the entire economies of China, Germany, Japan, and the UK combined. But here's the thing nobody tells you. The US economy doesn't just affect Americans. It affects you. It affects your country. It affects the price of the food you eat, the phone in your hand, and the job market you're entering. So how does it actually work? Where does all that money come from? And why does a decision made in Washington, D.C. change the price of groceries in Mumbai or Lagos? Let's break it all down in 5 minutes. At its most basic level, an economy is just people buying and selling things. You buy coffee, someone gets paid. They buy groceries, someone else gets paid. That chain of money moving from person to person, that's the economy. The US economy works exactly the same way, just at a scale so enormous it's almost impossible to grasp. $28 trillion changing hands every single year. That's roughly $85,000 per American citizen every year, just to keep the machine running. And unlike most countries whose economies depend on oil or manufacturing or agriculture, the US economy runs on something far more powerful. The US economy is powered by three main engines. Engine 1, consumers. Roughly 70% of the entire US economy is just ordinary Americans buying things. Coffee, cars, phones, Netflix subscriptions, concert tickets. Every single time an American opens their wallet, it keeps the economy moving. This is the most important thing to understand about America. It is a consumer economy. When Americans feel confident and spend freely, the economy booms. When they get scared and stop spending, like during the 2008 financial crisis or COVID, the entire global economy shudders. Engine 2, businesses. Companies invest in buildings, machines, technology, and people. When businesses are confident about the future, they hire more workers, open more factories, and pour money back into the economy. When they're uncertain or scared, they freeze. They cut jobs, they stop investing. And that fear spreads like a virus through every other part of the economy. Engine 3, the government. The US government spends roughly $6 trillion every single year on things like roads, military defense, healthcare, education, and social security. That's $6 trillion being pumped directly into the economy, paying salaries, funding projects, keeping hospitals running. Love it or hate it politically, government spending is one of the single biggest drivers of economic activity in the entire country. Remove any one of these three engines, and the whole machine starts to break down. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The US dollar is the world's reserve currency. That means almost every country on Earth, from India to Brazil to Saudi Arabia to China, keeps large amounts of US dollars stored in their national reserves. Why? Because almost every major global commodity, oil, gold, wheat, copper, is priced in dollars. If Saudi Arabia wants to sell oil to Japan, that transaction happens in US dollars, even though neither country is American and neither currency is involved. This gives the United States a level of economic power that no other country in history has ever had. It means the US can borrow money cheaply from the entire world. It means American financial decisions ripple outward and affect every single economy on the planet. When the US Federal Reserve raises interest rates, your home loan in another country gets more expensive. When the dollar strengthens, your local currency weakens. When America sneezes, the world catches a cold. That's not an exaggeration. That's just how the system works. You've probably heard of Wall Street, the financial center of the United States and arguably the financial center of the entire world. The US stock market, specifically the S&P 500, represents the 500 largest companies in America. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, Google. Combined, these companies are worth tens of trillions of dollars. When these companies do well, investors make money, people feel wealthy, and they spend more, which grows the economy further. When these companies crash, like in 2008 or early 2020, people feel poorer, they stop spending, businesses panic, and recessions follow. The stock market is essentially the world's largest confidence meter for the US economy. And because global investors pour money into it from every corner of the planet, what happens on Wall Street doesn't stay on Wall Street. But the US economy, for all its power, is not without serious cracks. The national debt has crossed $35 trillion. That means the US government owes more money than it earns every single year. Every American citizen's share of that debt is over $100,000, including newborn babies. Wealth inequality is at historic levels. The top 1% of Americans now own more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. The richest man in America as of today is worth over $1 trillion. The bottom 50% of Americans combined are worth less than $4 trillion total. And inflation in recent years has made everyday life dramatically more expensive for ordinary Americans, squeezing the middle class harder than at almost any point in modern history. So here's the full picture. The US economy is a $28 trillion machine, powered by consumer spending, business investment, and government money, held together by a currency the entire world depends on, and amplified by the most powerful stock market ever built. It's the greatest economic engine in human history, but it's also carrying $35 trillion in debt, historic inequality, and more uncertainty than at almost any point in living memory. What happens next to the US economy, nobody knows for certain. But one thing is guaranteed: whatever happens next, the entire world will feel it. If this video gave you clarity, hit subscribe, because there's a lot more coming that'll change how you see the world.